Sam K, and I am playing along with Mixed Media Mayhem today, and today we've got a recipe for you guys. I'm also playing along with Christy's Beautiful Life 30 Days of Sketches, and today's sketch is by Sarah Davies. So I am going to be using this sketch, but instead of creating a circle, I'm going to use a circle element on my layout. So I've pulled out these thickers for my title, and I'm going to add some sprays to them to color them up because they're just a plain craft cardstock. No, I apologize. They're chipboard, a raw chipboard. I also pulled out my dies, this die right here, because part of our Mixed Media Mayhem recipe is to take a mixed media background or a mixed media paper and die cut it out to use it as an element. I've got these two funny pictures of a hole in the head poster that we found in June Lake. And then this is going to be my circle element for Sarah's sketch. So I'm actually going to take this wreath and try to make it work for my layout. I've got another pre-made mixed media background that I'm going to use to map my photos. And then I have this pre-made mixed media background that I'm thinking about using in the inside of my wreath when I cut it out. And then also, because I won't need all of it, I'm going to trim it down and use it as the strips of paper that are going to create my L shelf for my photos. So I've got a lot of mixed media paper here that I planned on using for this particular layout, but if I'm being honest, there's a couple things in the recipe that I forgot. So when I focused on mists, to me that's sprays. I don't know the difference at all because none of mine actually like mist out. I wish they did. No, mine just blurt out and spray out. So I usually splatter with them. So I'm actually going to take my mist and add a little bit of splattering. And then I do actually use the mist on my alpha letters as well. But I forgot that we were supposed to use stamped title, like a stamped alphas instead. And I did not do that. So I apologize. I used the recipe, but then I forgot about the recipe. So my bad. So the first thing I'm going to do, besides map my photos and get them all ready to go, I'm going to fussy cut out the center of this wreath. Now, one of the other things I thought I was going to do is fussy cut out the outside because I thought that it would be too dark to leave it on this black background. But all in all, I actually kind of like how it turned out. It's not my favorite layout in the whole wide world, but hole in the head layouts are not always my favorite layout to work with. Like they're just not exciting to me, but they are for the kids. My kids love seeing their little heads in these holes. I don't know why. And so I thought, you know what? I'm just going to go with it. I'm going to create and have fun with this type of layout. And just do the thing. So I did speed this up quite a bit, but I am taking my fingers and distressing my cut lines because I can't cut straight or crooked to save my life. Like it just is a terrible cut. So I always distress my edges so that way it looks intentional. Like all the cuts look just fine by the time your edges are distressed. Okay, so I've got this mixed media background, and once I cut out the branding strip, I didn't actually mixed media it all the way to the edge. Who does that? I don't. So yeah, I will be cutting off the white piece, and then I'm going to cut off a bunch of the other pieces as well, so that way I can pull out strips, and I'm counting the strips that Sarah has in her sketch to make sure that I have the same amount. I want to make sure that I have skinny strips and wide strips and kind of matching what she's got going on. And then I realized, oh my gosh, am I cutting this too short? Like I had to remember where to stop. So that way I made sure that I had enough background to put in the back of my wreath. Now, once I added that background, that's where I feel like I messed up. That's where I feel like now the layout just got dark. Now the layout is really super busy. I mean, I don't know. So it's going to sit there and kind of seed for a little bit to make sure that that's what I want to do. And truth be told, I don't even think about it. I just keep going. I keep moving. I just do it, you guys. I don't even think about the fact that like it's in my brain right now. It was in my brain when I was making it. Like that background is busy. That background is a lot. That background is, oh my wow, and that's what I'm thinking the whole time I'm inking up all these pieces, loving these pieces. Like I love what I cut off, but I'm not sure if I like the center of my wreath. I don't know, but I'm going to go with it. Look at this. I am using the tear and tape so that way I can make sure that all this mixed media-y goodness is going to stick to the back of my wreath paper. Now the wreath paper just came from a wintry what's it called? Page pack. No, paper stack. I don't know. Whatever they're called from Michaels and Hobby Lobby, paper pack, paper pads, paper. Okay. Anyways, that's what they're from is one of those, and I ended up with like a what's it called? Like a Christmassy plaid one. And I ended up sharing it with a couple friends and just picked out a couple that I liked. And I thought, well, this would be a good filler page if I ended up making one too many Christmas layouts, right? Sometimes I don't pay attention and I accidentally make a 12 by 12 layout where I'm supposed to make a 8.5 by 11 because I didn't note it anywhere when I made my page kit. And so I need a filler page. And so that's why I had this in my stash. But then when I was going through all of these layouts or sketches, two sketches had this large circular element in it. And I wanted to make one of them more unique than the other, right? In fact, I think I used a square for my last circle element. And then this one, I'm going to use a wreath. So I wanted them to be a little bit different. And so, yeah, that's where the wreath came in. And it was actually in with all of my mixed media papers, my backgrounds that I'm trying to use up. And so I thought, oh, this is perfect. I'm going to try it. And it matches my kids' photo. Like it blends in really well. So I'm thinking, okay, let's do it. Let's try it. Let's see if it works. And so far, I really like it, except for that behind. I'm not sure if I really like the hexagons and that busy background, but I'm going for it. I'm just going to keep on moving. I'm going to ignore it. I'm adding a little bit more mixed media where I feel like it's just not green enough. I distress one of them and then forget to distress all the rest. Like I'm in a zone, you guys. It is just so weird how I end up doing. I don't know what I've got going on here, but yeah, this is the way it is. So I do have two very similar photos. The only difference is my son, because my daughter's doing the same, like she's doing the same growl, like oh my gosh, he's eating me, and my son is smiling in one and then eating her in the other one, pretending to be the bear, and so anyways. I didn't really need all of the elements from both photos because they were both the same. The only thing that's different is the heads in the holes, right? So I covered up one of the photos like a lot. And I did that for one, because that's how Sarah did it in her sketch. And for two, I don't normally do it like that. Like I usually make room for my photos because I don't like such a large overlap. But for this one, it works. It worked really well. I did turn the sketch in case you hadn't noticed yet. I turned it because that was how my photos laid out. And of course, that's the way that it was going to work the best for my photos. And I like the heavier shelf on the bottom instead of on the side. So that is how I have my layouts or my strips set up. Now, I did die cut and I also inked that mixed media paper, and I just did it 3 different times with that large die, and then I ended up fussy cutting them all out. But then to make the green match what I had going on with my other mixed media paper, I did take that I think it's crushed olive that I'm using. I took the crushed olive and I inked the edges again. And so that way it kind of toned down that bright green that I had. But look what it did to I'm not even sure if you guys can see it, but it turned the pine cones like a black, like it was bad. So I went and I die cut some white cardstock with my pine cone that came with the same die cut set. And it's double layered. So I inked the bottom layer in a darker brown, and then the lighter layer the top layer in a lighter brown. And then I'm just placing them on top of the pine cone image that was in the main cluster, right? The main cluster die. And I think this is how it's supposed to go anyways. I don't know, you guys. I usually am not a traditional die user. I usually just use my dies how I want to use them, and that's how it works. I don't know these things. But I do know that I like the addition of the brown pine cones a lot more. Like, I feel like it brings that brown all the way around my wreath. I love the little white pine cone needles sticking out from the printed portion. So I'm really liking it. It just looks too busy. Like, now it looks like, holy cow, that's a lot on a page. But it's really not when you look at it. There's not a whole lot to this page, but it looks like I did a lot of work. Thanks for this piece of paper, because you made me look like I did a lot. But yeah, because I got distracted by everything else, this is why I forgot the rest of the recipe, because I immediately pulled out a spray thinking, oh, I'm supposed to use a spray, forgetting that they were supposed to be shimmer sprays. So that was my bad. So I just went with my tried and true. This is my Dina Wakley in white. I don't think it has a fancy name to it or anything. And I'm actually going to just paint it on. And for some reason, if you don't stick the tube all the way down and you just stick it at the top, it doesn't pick up the actual paint. It just picks up the liquid that's on top. So I do pull out a paintbrush after all of this, because that was just a pill. And if I don't dip my paintbrush all the way down, like here in a minute, you'll see how nasty my paintbrush gets. I don't get the paint. Like, it's super weird. No matter how much I spray, I just see how the liquid just soaked right in, and now it's gray. And I'm like, wait a minute, what happened? I had paint and then I don't have paint. I don't understand. So I had to dip my paintbrush. Like, look how far I had to go to get the paint. It's so weird. I don't understand. But then again, I'm probably not supposed to paint with this stuff. I don't know. But the nozzle's been clogged for years. I don't even know how long it's been, but the nozzle's been clogged since day one. And because it's an acrylic paint, it is a super thick acrylic paint that you're trying to get through a very teeny tiny little nozzle. And so I'm done fighting with it. This is how I use it. I don't even bother spraying with it anymore. I only use it for splattering and then, of course, for painting. So I'm going to go ahead and get all of these guys painted. Now that I'm thinking about it, I should have took a stamp while it was wet and stamped on it. But again, look at all of the design that I have going on. If I would have stamped on this, my letters would have been lost. I don't know what I would have done. They just would have been completely lost on this whole thing. So I left it the way it was, and then I'm going to take that the same white and splatter and add more around the wreath, because it already was printed on. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to go for it. It can't get any busier than it already is. And I love it. I love how it looks. I love all of this goodness going around. I mean, it is fabulous. It's super cool, but yet at the same time, completely busy. I have no idea how I got all that splattering on my hand. I stopped asking questions a long time ago of how things happen. But yes, I ended up with more splatter on my hand than on the layout. It was ridiculous. I have no idea how that happened. But I'm going to go with it. Now that my letters are dry, I am going to use adhesive because for some reason, these, let's just face it, they're thickers. They don't stick. They're just thick alphabets that pretend to have adhesive on the back. Unless they're, for some reason, the foam ones. The foam are great, but everything else is like, meh. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and glue these on and around my wreath. And I just wrote the words, how fun, because that's what my kids do. They just have fun at no matter what they do or where they go. They make light of everything and enjoy themselves. And I like catching them, especially every time they see one of these boards. It's like, can we stick our heads in the hole? Sure, let's do that because that's just so cool. All right, you guys. So here is my extremely busy layout for mixed media, using up 3 of my mixed media pre-made backgrounds that I had. I'm super stoked that I finally got to use them up. And I used up one of those pre-printed big 12 by 12 wordy prints. I don't even know what they're called, you guys, like a title page type of thing. So I'm super stoked. And I do like how it looks. Again, the center of the wreath is still kind of sort of iffy to me, but I'm going to leave it. Sarah, this was such a fun sketch to play with. I enjoyed adapting it and improvising it for Mixed Media Mayhem. Don't forget to check out the playlists that I have down below for both Christy's Beautiful Life and Mixed Media Mayhem. Again, thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I'll check y'all later. Bye.